Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of Sports Science Hacks, where today I'm going to speak about why you're not getting past the interview stage. Number one is not your fault. Sometimes there were too many candidates. There are fine margins, and sometimes it's just nothing personal. You could have done really well, had a great interview, the panel liked you, but someone was just a little bit better. And that is a kick in the teeth, because that feedback from the employer is completely useless. You haven't really learned from that experience. So that's a tough one to take. Number two onwards is pointing the finger at you now. It could be a lack of preparation that you did for the interview. You have to research the company. It's really paramount that you do that. Because if you don't, you're in trouble. 9 times out of 10, you'll be asked, well, why do you want to work for us? What do you know about us? These sort of questions you have to be prepared for. They're so common. So make sure you go on the website of the company, look at the staff, facilities, whatever's relevant to the job, make sure you're reading about that on the website. The next one is all too common, weirdly enough, lack of interest. Some people go into an interview, poor body language, tone of voice, they don't sound like they're that bothered, they sound like they take or leave the job. It's a really poor attitude to have. Ask yourself as well, think about some previous interviews you went to that were unsuccessful. How would you rate your passion for that role, the company, your knowledge of the company as well in that role? And sometimes being laid back is good. I'd like to say I'm a pretty laid back person, but in an interview, I'm not coming across as laid back. I am passionate. I will run through brick walls for this company. I really want to work for that person and that company. You need to outline that. Even if you are an introverted, laid back person, you might have to change your character a little bit to tell this company how passionate you are. Number 4 is related to poor answers given in the interview. You have to rehearse answers. I never did when I was 18, 19, 20. It bit me on the arse. Because in reality, not many questions are a surprise. If you do enough homework and prepare properly, very few will shock you or make you freeze on the day. What you need to do is go on Google before the interview and look at the most common interview questions for that role. For me as a lecturer, if I'm looking for common interview questions, I can find a PDF with 100 questions and I will just rifle my way through all those questions, and it will make me much more prepared when I go for interviews. Number 5 is being unsure of your future. This depends, not every job will ask this question, but quite often you could be asked, well, what is your 5-year plan? Where do you see yourself in 2 years, whatever it may be? You need to think about this before the interview. Don't freeze on the spot, because if you're not clear, if you're not concise, if you blag, waffle, it will put employers off, and someone else will answer that question so much better than you. They're really sure of their future. It just sounds a lot better. And finally, you never learn. Each interview is an experience, and you need to make sure you learn from each one. I've had so many interviews, but each one, no matter how badly it's gone, I will take something away from it. Make sure you get feedback. You don't always get the feedback from the employer because there are so many candidates that went for the role. So if you have a mentor or a friend, speak to them about the interview, tell them what you said, and they can pick holes in what you did. It also pays to self-reflect as well. I always did that. I could tell usually what mistakes I've made, but speak to other people as well. Okay, so I'm just going to finish off with a few parting words here. Firstly, watch YouTube videos. I have videos on my channel about interviews. Take a look at those. Google the most common interview questions, as I've mentioned already, and visualize, rehearse. Before an interview, I will visualize the whole process maybe 50, 60 times. So when it comes to it, I feel a lot less nervous than I did, say, 10 years ago. Okay, so that was my short video on job interviews. If you'd like to learn more about this, please get in touch with me on Instagram at Sports Science Hacks. Okay, thanks for tuning in, and I'll speak to you again soon.